Chapter 8 Godseed. Travel to Corin was a lot harder without horses or wagons. Meant we carried everything ourselves. Packs, steel, the dead weight of bad decisions. Made me regret eating Widow during the thick of winter. She'd been a good horse, strong lungs, stubborn. Would have made the march easier. The cold had eased since then, so had our tempers. Mostly. I still couldn't forgive the captain for what he did to Mole. He was one of us, young, eager, always first to volunteer, always last to think. Now he's gone, all for a full belly. I'll miss the lad. Bear was stripped of his sergeant's stripes. No surprise there. The surprise came when Jester was given the rank instead. Man can't even speak straight. But I suppose you don't need poetry to lead men like ours. A grunt. A finger pointed the right way. That's usually enough. Last week, Bear had been given an ultimatum. Stay on as a footman, or lose the other hand. He chose the obvious answer. Been different ever since. Quiet. Sits at the back of Jester's line with his head down, like he's chewing on something bitter that won't go away. Fuck him. Let him sulk. Rusty finally got the rank of lieutenant. No one argued. No one even blinked. He'd already been doing the work, keeping order, moving men, turning the captain's silence into action. Not bitch work. Hard work. Raider took Rusty's old sergeant's position, which made him my new sergeant. No complaints from me. He didn't change much after. Didn't need to. When he stands beside you, it feels like you might live long enough to see another sunrise. I always preferred fighting next to that monster of a man anyways. We reorganized the company into 2 primary platoons, mostly footmen. Jester and Raider at the heads. Crow kept his archers and scouts under a 3rd platoon. Rusty and the captain sat above it all, pulling the lines like puppet strings. We were smaller than before, fewer voices, fewer boots at night. Still, after the reshuffle I felt steadier, like the rot had been cut back to the bone, or so I thought. Fells finally died a few nights back during the march. Rusty told us to leave him in Radik. Said he wouldn't survive the road to Corin without 2 legs. Fells argued. Said he'd rather die marching than be left behind. The dumb bastard got what he wanted. York survived, against all odds and good sense. Cutter lived up to his name, cut away the black meat around the wound, then pressed hot iron to what was left. York screamed like an animal being born. Smelled like one, too. Funny thing is, he saved me that day. Took a crossbow bolt meant for me. I wouldn't have done the same for him. Suppose that makes him one of the good ones. Those don't last long. Elra made herself useful quick. Volunteered for the first hunting party. Said she knew exactly where the elk wintered. We've been eating fresh venison ever since. Then Wick started complaining about bugs under his skin. Said they were crawling when he tried to sleep. Cutter looked him over and said it was exhaustion. I understood that well enough. But Wick said something else that stuck with me. Said Leech had 2 shadows. Said he hadn't been right since the tower. I agreed. Whatever cracked in him back there never set straight again. When Wick brought it to Crow, Crow just nodded. After that, we kept our distance. Treated Leech like an outsider. A few nights later, Red found Bruno. Chest opened. Innards gone. Tent slick with blood. We all knew who it was. We told the captain. They questioned Leech. Beat him. Bound his wrists and dragged him at the back of the column. Captain wanted proof. Said monsters always show themselves eventually. Nothing happened after that. Nothing, except the nectar shrine. a bloated thing chained to a slab of stone beside the road, skin cracked and caked in filth, old wounds never closed. It wheezed like a dying bellows, like they always do. Its udders leaked sour yellow mucus. You could smell it from leagues off. Turned. Wrong. The creature sat between life and death, chained there for anyone with the stomach to milk it. Didn't believe in them until I saw my first one a bit south of Belgot. Only 4 like it in existence, they say. Up ahead, pilgrims were gathered around it, men and women caressing the spoiled teats like lovers, filling flasks, whispering prayers. They noticed us and stiffened. Couldn't blame them. We looked like the end of things. No need for violence, strangers. We yield the road, an old man said. Raider shifted his axe onto his shoulder. Why would you say that? The pilgrim blinked. We are men and women of peace. We just... Raider cut him off. No. Why would you say that to us? The man's lip trembled. Knees nearly buckled. Some of us snickered. Mud crossed his arms. Aye. Rude thing to assume that we're violent men. Now give us your shoes and some of those fancy flasks, or we'll cut off your feet. Rusty and the captain let it happen. Suppose we were owed something after marching unpaid for near 2 months. And some cheese, I added. You pilgrims always got cheese. Hurry it up. They handed it all over without a fight. A few of our lads looked disappointed in the compliance. Bloodthirsty bastards. I ate my cheese the rest of the way to Corin. The clergy gave us lodgings, food, warm fires, baths even, by the grace of Corin's holy hands, our employers. We were meant to meet them proper the next day. Guess they wanted us looking halfway respectable. Rusty didn't rest. Him, Raider, and Red went off to buy horses, mules, wagons. Thank heavens for that. I was tired of listening to Howler bitch about his back. It was good hearing him talk again, though. After Spider died, he'd gone quiet. Those two were close, like Mud and me. Tonight, his feet were blistered heel to toe. He took a knife to them while we ate supper. As much as I love lamb stew, I decided my stomach could wait. Wick didn't care. He ate 4 bowls, made a strange sound while doing it. The next morning, I was ordered by Raider to participate in the negotiations. Captain, Rusty, Raider, Mud, and me. 5 of us climbing the red steps to the Godhold like we were walking up to be weighed and found lacking. The steps were cut from some iron-veined stone hauled down from the mountains. Red from the rock, redder from the history. Took near half an hour to reach the top. Lungs burning, boots slipping on polished, blood-smooth stone. Too big for no reason except to remind men where they stood. By the time we reached the gates, my calves ached and my patience was gone. Bells rang above us, slow and measured like something keeping time on our lives. The doors opened inward, thick, reinforced, gold-trimmed. They didn't creak, they swallowed sound. Inside, the air changed, cool, dry, incense heavy enough to taste, gold everywhere, relics sealed behind glass, saints carved into pillars, their faces worn smooth by hands that begged too often. We didn't belong. They made sure we knew it. Clerics in white and red stared like we'd tracked filth across their floors. Faith militants lined the walls in rows, mail polished, boots clean, hands resting near steel. Hundreds of them, quiet, watching, waiting for permission. Most holy men pray for protection. Corin bought it. Steel, discipline, and more crowns than sense. We would have been less polite if there hadn't been so many eyes measuring distance and reach. An old man peeled himself from the crowd and drifted toward us. Jewels crusted his robes, rings on every finger, neck bent forward like it couldn't carry the weight anymore, nose hooked like a scavenger bird, smelled of wine and chalk dust. "Friends," he said, smiling like he'd practiced it. "Welcome to the Godhold. You must be the notorious Worm Company." "Yes, of course. Blessings upon your arrival." Nobody answered. The captain stepped away from us and started walking the hall slow, ran a finger along a reliquary, stopped at a lectern, looked at a book older than the city itself, didn't ask permission, didn't hurry. The old man cleared his throat. "My name is Pontiff Malik. I am very pleased that—" The captain spoke without looking at him. "Your letter spoke of 30,000 crowns, delivery of an infant to Nafar, urgently, safely." He turned then, looked Malik dead in the eye. "It's a start." You could feel the room tighten. Malik blinked, brow creased, smile strained. "A start? No. As stated in the contract, there will be no haggling. 30,000 is—" The captain cut him off like he'd cut a rope. 30,000 is a number you show starving men so they stop asking questions. He stepped closer. Not aggressive, just enough. "Yet we're the only company you sent for. Meaning, we're the closest, the most reliable, and the only ones mad enough to march out of Corin in late winter." Silence. You could hear armor shift along the walls. 10,000 crowns up front, the captain continued, voice flat. 40,000 on completion. A pause. "And maybe we won't sack your villages on our way out." That did it. Malik's face flushed red, veins stood out in his neck. 30,000 crowns is more than men like you deserve, he snapped. "You are killers, grave robbers, blights." The captain didn't react. Malik inhaled, exhaled, measured himself. "However, due to the circumstances and the urgency of the matter, I will accept your conditions." Rusty shifted beside me. Mud scratched his beard. Raider smiled a little. Malik raised a finger. "There is another condition. 40 of my faith militant will accompany you. It is paramount that the holy seed is delivered intact and uncorrupted." The captain looked him over slowly, took in the rings, the silk, the fear buried under authority. "Aye," he said, "they feed themselves. They keep their praying quiet. My men need their sleep." Malik nodded once, sharp and stiff. "Agreed." He gestured with 2 fingers. "Legot Dargan Holt." A man stepped forward from the ranks, built like a siege engine. Expensive mail fitted to him like it had been poured on. Shaved head, hard eyes, no wasted motion. He didn't glare, didn't smile, just assessed. The way his hand rested on his sword told me everything I needed to know. Not itching. Ready. I got the feeling he'd been waiting years for permission to cut men like us down. The captain met his gaze. 2 professionals, measuring weight, counting cost. The legate stood before the pontiff. Most holy pontiff. His forehead touched the floor. He did not look up. "I receive the charge set upon me. I will protect the Godseed with my life, and if my life proves insufficient, with whatever remains of me after, I am bound to it, not as guardian alone, but as shelter and passage. I will carry it through fire, through rot, through the mouths of men who curse its name and beg for it in the same breath." He swallowed, continued. "I am charged with guiding it, sheltering it, and loving it. Though I am unworthy of love and do not ask to understand it, I will not question its cries nor the changes it brings. I will not recoil if it turns its gaze upon me. I will not ask why it chooses some and ruins others." A pause, long, measured. If it must feed, I will provide. If it must be hidden, I will blind the world. If it must be feared, I will ensure it is feared properly. His fingers curled against the stone. This is my purpose, given and sealed. I accept it without reservation, without mercy, and without hope of absolution. Should I fail, let my name be struck from the rolls, and my body rendered useful. Only then did he lift his head slightly, not to meet the pontiff's eyes, but to hear better. I thank you for this most holy mission. May my doubt die first. May my faith endure longer than my flesh. He bowed again, deeper this time. And should the Godseed judge me wanting, I will not resist. After that simpleton finished sucking at the teats of the High Pontiff, we collected our 10,000 and made ready with the new additions. Crowns clink different when they come from holy hands. Heavier, like they expect something back. Red waved us down at the base of the steps using his one good arm. His stub hung useless, wrapped and stiff. Behind him waited fresh nags, wagons, and mules, all church-bred, fat, nervous, too clean. Rusty ran the numbers and told us the company coffers were set back 9,000 crowns. Would have been cheaper to steal them. We spent another 2 nights gathering our strength, eating well, drinking what Corin allowed us to drink, sleeping badly. Some of the lads grumbled about the lack of women to keep them warm. Corin, it turned out, was above peddling flesh. I don't believe that for a second. They just keep that sort of comfort reserved for the high clergy and highborns, same as everything else worth having. On the second evening, I saw a new face squatting beside York as he was scrubbing blood and filth out of his clothes, shoulders still wrapped. He was young, too young. He noticed me looking and tried to straighten himself. "Good day," he said. "May I ask your name?" Green as hell, like the world hadn't gotten its teeth in him yet. He stood and offered a hand, smooth, soft, unscarred. I stared at it like it was diseased. "Who the fuck are you?" I spat. He blinked, smiled. "My name's Gil, one of the officers. Rusty offered me a—" I cut him off. "Rule number 1, stop smiling. Ain't a damn thing to smile about. Makes you look like a cunt." The smile died fast. His hand dropped like it had been burned. Sorry, I just thought—" Howler leaned in from behind him, voice low and mean. "Being sorry is a good way to get yourself fucked. You looking to get fucked by another man, boy?" The lad looked like he might piss himself where he stood. "Go get us more ale," I rasped, "before one of us fucks you." He bolted around the lodging quarters like a hare with dogs on it. We laughed so hard Mud nearly choked. Come morning, we were on the march again. New wagons, new nags and mules, 5 green recruits that didn't know better, and that file of fanatics. The legate kept his men tight, orderly, disciplined, quiet, even when the company took jabs at their haircuts, their prayers, their stiff-backed marching. Men like that are good for one thing, holding the vanguard. Better them than us. They kept the infant tucked away in a gilded box at the rear wagon, gold so bright it hurt to look at. They formed around it like a wall of bodies, as if they were already decided on dying for whatever lay inside. I hadn't seen it yet, didn't want to. Some of the brothers whispered about it when they thought nobody was listening, said they felt things when they got close, heard things. Drek swore the hair on his neck stood up like he was being watched from inside his own skull. Didn't care much for what he said. I don't trust cannibals. I caught sight of Leech again, still bound, stuffed into the back of one of the wagons with Kyle and Cutter watching him. Never understood why they kept him alive if they thought he was murdering men. Best to cut a throat or loose a rope. Anything else just invites trouble. Didn't matter much to me. I was just glad to be on horseback again. Didn't bother naming this one. I'd probably have to eat it someday. Widow was a good girl when she was alive. Tasted great, too. By the next day and a half, we'd crossed into the Great Plains between Corin and Slanage. Golden grass rolling out in every direction, hills shimmering under a weak winter sun. Pretty if you ignored the cold seeping into the ground and the mud dragging at every step. These lands got fog this time of year. Thick, low, like the world trying to hide its own shame. They called it the Pale. Mud was already grumbling on his nag. Who hears a name like the Pale and decides to march straight through it? Fucking hells. Pepper chuckled and lifted his bow, pointing toward the distant horizon. You're welcome to go around it, friend. Only takes about a month. Mud scoffed and sank lower in his saddle. By sunset, I had the feeling again. Been on the road long enough to know when the world tilts wrong. Nothing obvious, just the way the wind slid past my ears. Too still, too deliberate, like it was listening. Then a banner crested the horizon. How in the fuck, Howler croaked. Is anyone else marching in winter? I squinted until my eyes watered. The sigil came clear enough, a white angel on blue cloth. House Ronley. That night they made camp alongside us. Maybe 100 men, lightly burdened, weapons polished, armor clean, hardly any baggage, a couple dozen horses at most. That told me enough. Men who travel light intend to move fast, or burn something down. The captain, Rusty, Lord Ronley, the legate, and some silk-wrapped lord from Nafar all met inside the captain's tent. At first it was murmurs, polite lies, measured words. Later came shouting, not the wild kind, the controlled kind, the kind meant to wound. I caught fragments drifting through the canvas. Blasphemous. Godseed. Heresy. Rusty came out fast, eyes sharp, face pale. He grabbed Mud and me where we stood watch. Ready the men, he said. We march, now. His hand was shaking. Trouble? I asked. He shook his head once. Worse. I didn't argue. By the time we'd stirred everyone, the camp was awake and cursing. We never marched at night unless we were about to kill someone, and nobody liked not knowing who. The captain and Rusty were gone. The company stood there in the dark like a herd waiting for wolves. Crow came up quiet as ever. Can't find Wick. Raider spun on him. Fucking what? Then a scream split the night, then steel on steel. Came from the legate's camp. We all looked at each other, Raider, Crow, Jester, waiting for someone higher up the chain to tell us what to do. No one did. Raider pinched the bridge of his nose like that might drag an answer out of his skull. To arms, he roared, axe lifting. Protect the contract! Crow vanished into the tree line with his archers like smoke pulled sideways. Jester and Raider drove us forward headlong, reckless, stupid. But sometimes stupid is all you have. I saw the fire before I saw the fight. Burning tents, men screaming. One of the faith militant came running straight at us, armor half donned, skin already blistering. Gil froze when the man reached for him, looked ready to piss himself. The full mess came into view. Ronley men-at-arms clashing with the legate's forces. No lines, no banners, just blades and screams and panic. In situations like that, loyalty is simple. You stick with who's paying. I buried my axe in the neck of the first Ronley footman I reached. His eyes went wide like he'd just met the devil. Mud slid his blade up under another man's arm and leaned in until the screaming stopped. We hit their rear hard, fast, like their own shadows had turned on them. I knew then we had them, that feeling. When you know the fight's already decided. Best feeling there is. Then I saw another fire, deeper in the legot's camp. The wagon, the one carrying the infant. Ronley men had it ringed, torches thrown, hay piling up, the child inside screaming so loud it cut through everything. Rusty was there, arrow sunk deep in his shoulder, blood soaking his sleeve. 3 men on him, and he still wouldn't go down. I'm not a hero. I'm not even particularly brave. I knew they'd kill me if I charged in like a fool. I did it anyway. Didn't feel like a choice. Red was beside me before I realized he'd moved. I took the first man in the ribs. Rusty grinned through blood like he was enjoying himself. Then a spear punched through my hand and took my middle finger with it. Another smaller blade sank into my thigh. Too much pain. Couldn't pick which to feel. So I screamed. Right in the face of the man who stabbed me. Scared him enough. I bit his nose clean off, crunch and all. Rusty dropped the spearman before I could finish it. Red was already climbing the wagon, one arm stubborn as sin. He hauled the child free, holding it tight. They didn't hesitate. A spear went through his back. A sword took his head. The infant hit the wagon hard and rolled into the mud beside Red's head. For a second, I thought the child was dead. Then it cried again. I rushed forward despite Rusty shouting my name. A Ronley soldier stood over it, boot raised. I've learned to live without anger. That sight brought it all back. I don't remember crossing the distance. I remember blood, screams. My axe buried where it didn't matter anymore. Something smashed the side of my head. Everything rang. I could barely see, just the infant screaming. Rusty trading blows nearby. Boots splashed in the mud. More Ronley men. I should have been afraid. I wasn't. I lifted the child and pressed it to my chest. It was warm. Too warm. I looked down. It looked back up at me. Smiled. At first it was innocent. A baby's smile. Then it stretched. Too far. Brows knotted. Mouth pulling into something wrong. Evil. Red's severed head blinked. Spider legs tore out of it and dragged it away through the mud. I blinked. The child was just crying again. Ronley men fell around me, arrows sprouting from them. Crow and his archers emerged, finishing what was left. Pepper hauled me upright. You all right, Hark? I didn't answer. The rest ended quick enough. We broke 1/3 of Ronley's force, lost 9 brothers, 20 of the legot's men, took 6 prisoners. The legate stormed over and tore the infant from my arms. I let him. Didn't want it near me anymore. Rusty tried to mount a horse in a hurry. "The fuck are you doing?" Raider barked. "You'll ruin your shoulder." Rusty slid back down, breathing hard. "Get your best fighters. Ronley's taken the captain."